orders, there is nothing that is known as proxy voting. So what is this concept that is being introduced? Voting by proxy. Honorable Senators, the mandate of a legislator in a county assembly or in Senate such as this is delegated by Mwananchi. You cannot delegate that mandate further by giving someone else that mandate to vote on your behalf. They will produce letters that, incidentally, Honorable Senators, and this is very important, those letters were never tabled on 25th of November 2025 before the floor of the county assembly. Those letters were not forwarded at the beginning when this resolution was forwarded to Senate. Those letters only emerged on 1st of December 2025 when now they were presenting their second set of documents. Honorable Senators, what is this voting by proxy? Section 20, and I repeat because this is very important, it says, unless otherwise provided by the Constitution, written law, or any other law, voting shall be by members present and voting. Decisions shall be by members present and voting. I dare the county assembly to give us evidence of where voting by proxy has been provided elsewhere, either in the Constitution, the County Government Act, or their own standing orders. There is none. So where the law is clear on the procedure, you cannot innovate, you cannot improvise, you cannot interpret it to suit your illegal intentions. But assuming for a moment, Honorable Senators, that even voting by proxy is allowed, was there then voting by proxy? Before you, Honorable Senators, are affidavits by the 4 members that are said to have given instructions to vote. One of them in her affidavit that she's not even in Kenya. She's in Kansas, United States of America. On the very day, she had not seen the motion, she had not read the contents, she had no idea that this was happening. Yet someone purports to have gotten instruction on her behalf to vote. We have Julius Obonyo, we have Elijah Sagwe, Priscilla Nachichi. They have all sworn affidavits stating that they were in Mombasa on 25th when this motion was being passed. They have sworn under oath that they did not give anyone instructions to vote on their behalf, assuming even proxy voting was allowed. This is a clear case of not just fraudulent misrepresentation and forgery, but it's an issue that this Senate should take seriously and recommend criminal charges against the perpetrators of this heinous act. There was a reason why the enactors of our Constitution demanded that decision must be made by members present and voting. Your own standing orders, Honorable Senators, and I've been here before, there are 2 ways of being present and voting. Either you're physically present in chambers where bars are drawn, or you appear virtually. And even as you appear virtually, I'm here. The Speaker must confirm that it is this person who is a non-register of this legislator of this House that is voting virtually. The Speaker goes further to confirm that you are actually properly dressed in a parliamentary way. So it's not that automatic that you'll be allowed to vote even virtually. How then would a letter suffice? This motion, Honorable Senators, cannot be allowed to proceed to the next level. Doing so would be to legitimize a process that is fraud, a process that is meant to thwart the will of the people through their elected representatives. And luckily, Honorable Senators, this is not the first time this is happening. I was here months ago. My learned friend, Kato Kigen, was here representing the governor. The same arguments I'm raising are the same arguments he raised, Kericho 1 and Kericho 2, and he succeeded. And that's why I've crossed the floor. I am surprised that my learned friend is on the other side. I do not know what he'll be telling you. When the very submissions he raised are the very submissions I'm raising today. Honorable Senators, you do not need to call witnesses. My learned friend Katwa Kigen brought 18 witnesses here in the Kericho matter. How cumbersome was it? That thing ought to have been ended at the preliminary. I dare submit. Do the same today. You did it in Kericho 1, you did it in Isiolo. These are not proceedings that can be allowed to go to the next level. The other issue, because of time, let me just raise it, because I only have 3 minutes. Honorable Senators, should this motion then proceed to the next level, we have made an application through a letter that we have forwarded to the Senate, calling for the Speaker of the County Assembly, and this letter is the one dated 2nd December 2025, which makes an application to have the Speaker of the County Assembly and the Clerk of the County Assembly to be summoned to appear before you and produce the original letters that are purportedly given to the Speaker, allowing for proxy voting. I say I have 3 minutes. I want to spare them for the rejoinder. My humble submission to you, Honorable Senators, we could be done before lunch hour today, because there is nothing that is before you. What you have is a stillborn child. What you have is a lifeless motion that cannot be entertained. Honorable Senators, unless you have any questions for me, I beg to submit that these senators have other crucial businesses to attend to other than attending to a stillbirth motion. Thank you. I rest my case.
Counsel for the County Assembly, your 20 minutes starts running from now.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators. Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, it is our argument that the issue being advanced in respect to Nyamira is very different from the one for Kericho, and I'll come back to that. But I want to start from where Kericho 2 was left. Being that when we raised the preliminary objection, the general position of the Senate was that the people of Kericho, on their complaint brought in through their MCS, should be heard. Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, we pray that the same be applied in respect to Nyamira, that this matter proceeds and you hear the concerns of the people of Nyamira, and if it necessarily will entail you are having to combine a determination of the preliminary objection together with the merits of the issues, we will, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, my learned friend's argument on the preliminary objection was that probably we could just agree on the bottom lines. The first bottom line is we agree that in the year that were sitting or were supposed to sit in Nyamira County. However, as at November 2025, there were only 32. With that understanding then, my learned friend then proceeds and says that you should determine the 2/3 based on the figures determined by IBC. And for purposes of advancing that argument, they brought in volume 2 at page 42, at page 9 to 42, in which they provide the list of the MCAs that had been elected, and says that IBC has determined that issue of the number of MCAs for Nyamira and cast it in stone. And I would like to read the phrase used by IBC on that issue. The IBC said that the IBC declares, page 9, that page 9, volume 2A, page 9, volume 2A of the governor's bundle. It states that I'll just read the last 3 lines, honorable senators. It says that IBC declares that the persons whose names, page 9, volume 2A. Honorable senators, if we have found it, I will kindly read this. That page 9, that is where the declaration of the results are set out. Just read.
Honorable senators, it reads, IEBC declares that the persons whose names are listed in the schedule here under were elected as members of the various county assemblies, having received...
You may be having a different podium now.
Honorable senators, it is volume 2A of Governors 2A.
2A, page?
Yes. Page 9.
Page 9?
Yes.
Yes, page 9, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
It is titled The Constitution of Kenya. The
Yes.
Independent...
Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
You
Speaker.
may proceed.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, it reads that the IEBC declares that the persons whose names are listed in the schedule here under were elected as members of the various county assemblies, having received the majority of the votes cast in the election held on 9th August 2022 and complied with the provisions of the Elections Act 2011 and the Constitution.
Thank you, Madam. Mr. Speaker, sir, our argument then is that the IEBC was not saying that is the limit and the absolute number of the members that were at that time or at any time to sit in the County Assembly of Nyamira. The specific issue of the County Assembly of Nyamira is captured at page 42, where the numbers are set out, and then thereafter the top-up figures are provided for. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, the point I'm making is this, that when the Constitution and the County Governments Act states that it is 2/3 of all county assembly MCS, it can only be referring to the MCS at the material time. It cannot be an absolute. That if, for instance, you have 10 people died or their election have been nullified, then the county assembly cannot function, or that if you have somebody who is misconducting himself, like in this case, the MCS case in respect to the governor, then you cannot do anything. And Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, I just pray that you juxtapose that argument with the fact that in Kenya we had for a very long time a lack of IBC. Is it the case then, or will the senators then take the proposition that where we have limitation in the process of filling up the positions in the county assembly, then no activity should go on? Secondly, the county assembly over time has been passing appropriation bills, has been making legislations. If you were to hold that the 2/3 must be out of the 35, the ideal 35, are you then saying that all the legislations that have been passed, all the appropriation bills that have been passed, were all null and void? It is our argument that the intention of the Constitution and the County Governments Act is that it's 2/3 of the people who were there at the material time. Now, I should probably just explain and account for the 3 that brought the shortfall from 35 to 32. The first one was one Honorable Thaddeus Nyaboro, who was elevated to be a speaker and resigned, and his replacement was done on 1st of December. The MCA replacing him was done on 1st of December. The next MCA who left the scene was one Elijah Osiemo, who passed on in August 2023, and the third one is Doris Kiboso of Nyasiongo Ward, whose election was nullified. And therefore, the County Assembly of Nyamira has been conducting their affairs using the 2/3 of the MCAs that remained. So it is my argument, honorable senators and Mr. Speaker, sir, that you do agree with us that the use of the word all, both in the Constitution and in the County Governments Act, was contemplating and expecting the use of the people in office, short of which it would mean that the county assemblies and probably the Senate for that matter and probably the National Assembly cannot conduct some affairs until when vacancies arise in the body of the membership. It is also our argument, Mr. Speaker, sir, that to the extent to which it will be necessary to determine whether it was intended that 2/3 is an absolute figure from the total number of the elected MCS, number one. Number two, whether the IBC's notice is to be treated as an absolute, as casting the total in stone. Those two questions are questions of fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, and it is our argument that you should allow this issue to go into full hearing and a determination be made on that issue. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like then to move on to the issue of proxies. My learned friend has said that the letters upon which the people who exercise voting rights on behalf of others were not produced in the assembly. Mr. Speaker, sir, in our disclosure, in our documents, we've shown the letters by which the powers were delegated to some individuals to vote on behalf of others. Now, my learned friend's argument was that you should take it for a fact that indeed those letters were not at the assembly. It is my argument, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, that to the extent that you will need to determine whether indeed those letters were there is a question of fact, and therefore we should go to full trial. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, my learned friend has argued extensively saying there is no provision for use of proxies. Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, I pray that right away you take judicial notice of the fact that you yourself, as a Senate Assembly, use proxies. And therefore, to the extent that the Senate uses proxies as a means of determining its affairs, it be treated that use of proxies is a normal process of legislative processes, and therefore, the fact that it has been used in Nyamira is not necessarily wrong, considering that it has been used in this. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I would just want to invite you to the fact that the Nyamira County Assembly has previously used proxies, and we would like to have an opportunity to adduce evidence to that effect when we come to the full hearing. Mr. Speaker, standing order number 67, my learned friend said that I will not be able to refer to. And standing order number 67 of the County Assembly, of the Nyamira County Assembly standing orders, provides for 3 means of voting. That is secret voting, roll call voting, and electronic voting. Now, roll call voting and electronic voting is extensively described in the standing orders. The secret ballot voting system is not extensively explained in the standing orders. And that therefore leaves room for the Speaker to use standing order number 1 and give guidance. In the specific case of this voting, which is the subject of the impeachment that has been placed before you for determination, the issue of the use of the proxy was presented to the Speaker. The Speaker was invited to the fact that some people have sent authorities authorizing and giving proxies powers to vote on their behalf. Those documents were produced, therein they answered. And Mr. Speaker, sir, the Speaker of the County Assembly, in exercise of his authority under Standing Order number 1, authorized the use of the proxies. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is our argument that that process was, use of the proxy was properly considered, evaluated, and determined, and that it is properly allowed by Standing Order Number 1 and Standing Order Number 67. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to cede the remainder of my minutes to my learned friend, Mr. Mokua, on the two preliminary issues.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators. For record purposes, my name is Mr. Mokua Ndobi. Mr. Speaker, sir, in determining this preliminary objection by the governor's side, we urge this Senate to be guided by the elements of a preliminary objection as espoused in the most celebrated case of Mukisa Biscuit. Mr. Speaker, you will agree with us that this particular preliminary objection fails all the three tests that was set out in that very old case. First of all, Mr. Speaker, sir, a preliminary objection is supposed to be purely on a question of law. Mr. Speaker, wherever there are questions of facts to be interrogated, then a preliminary objection ought to fail, as is the case before the Senate. Mr. Speaker, there is a contestation as to the exact number of the MCAs in Nyamira as at 25th November 2025, when this impeachment motion was taken. On the governor's side, they are contending that the MCAs in Nyamira were 35 in number. On the assembly side, we are contending that the total number of MCAs were 32 in number. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, there is a contested question of fact, even on the baseline, on the total number of MCAs that were present in Nyamira County Assembly, as that 20 preliminary objection does not meet the second element in the Mukisa Biscuit, is that a preliminary objection is raised and argued on the assumption that all the facts that have been raised by the other side are correct. Mr. Speaker, the governor has filed an affidavit together with his witnesses. This therefore means he is contesting the factual issues that have been raised by the county assembly. To that extent, Mr. Speaker, the matter has to go for full trial so that the senators can make their own independent determination on the factual issues that are being contested. Mr. Speaker, in the Kericho 1 impeachment, there was general consensus, both by the governor's side and the assembly, that the total number of MCAs were 47 and that those who voted were 31. So what was left for the Senate was to determine the threshold, whether it is 31 or 32. And that impeachment collapsed at that juncture. But in Kericho 2, there were contested factual issues, and that is why the matter had to go for full trial, and then eventually the senators had to rule on the issue of the threshold. Mr. Speaker, it is our submission that the position in Kericho impeachment 2 is the one that is obtaining in the present impeachment proceedings. There are highly contested issues of fact which cannot be determined summarily at this preliminary point. Very finally, on the third limb as to why this particular PO ought to collapse, Mr. Speaker, a preliminary objection ought not to be raised where issues of discretion are to be determined. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Nyamira County Assembly standing orders, especially standing order number 1, vests power upon the Speaker to exercise discretion and to rule on procedural aspects which have not been expressly provided for in the standing orders. To this extent, Mr. Speaker, to the extent that the governor's side is challenging the Speaker's exercise of his discretion to allow voting by proxy, the preliminary objection ought to collapse on that ground. Mr. Speaker, counsel for the governor has indicated that these particular 4 MCAs never delegated their power to vote. On our end, it is our case that they did delegate. Sincerely speaking, Mr. Speaker, at this juncture, how can a tribunal or a Senate sitting at this juncture, how can it believe the governor's side and fail to believe our side merely because we are being told affidavits have been filed? Mr. Speaker, if we are allowed to proceed for full trial, we will bring for you a phone where this particular one of the MCAs did send a letter on WhatsApp. We will provide the phone in its original form. We will also provide email correspondence by these particular MCAs who are alleging that they never allowed to be voted for by way of proxy. Mr. Speaker, under the doctrine of silence of laws, where an act of parliament is silent on a particular item, then generally that particular act of parliament does not provide for a certain action, and at the same time, it does not prohibit a certain action. To the extent that the Nyamira County Assembly standing orders are silent on the aspect of proxy voting, they do not prohibit and neither they do not provide for. So the general provision of law is that act of parliament is silent on any particular item, that particular action is allowed. It is therefore our case, Mr. Speaker, that voting by proxy is allowed under the Nyamira County Assembly standing orders. Very finally, Mr. Speaker, a calculation of 2/3 of 32 translates to 71.875. It is our case that the 2/3 threshold was not just met, it was in fact surpassed. This, Mr. Speaker, we can only demonstrate once we proceed for full trial. On the second limb, Mr. Speaker, of the issue of summoning the clerk and the Speaker of the Nyamira County Assembly, we pray if our colleague can drop that particular request. We do undertake to avail one witness, the one who was given the 4 documents. He will avail the documents, he will also avail his mobile phone, and he will also avail the email to which this particular document was sent to him. Mr. Speaker, sir, we do pray that you dismiss this particular preliminary objection, allow this matter to proceed for full trial so that the whole world can be able to see the atrocities that have been committed on the people of Nyamira County by His Excellency the Governor, Amos Kimomi Nyaribo. Mr. Speaker, sir, we humbly pray that you dismiss this preliminary objection in the alternative, determine on the PO as their first issue. We humbly submit. Thank you.
Now, Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 34, 2A, I will allow later interruption of the proceedings at 1:15 to allow a rejoinder from the team of the Governor, and thereafter allow Honorable Senators, if you would wish to seek clarifications or ask questions to any of the parties present. Counsel for Governor, you may proceed with your rejoinder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I had reserved 3 minutes.
Okay.
For my yes. Thank you.
Those are 8 minutes.
I will use 3 minutes, then my learned friend will proceed. Mr. Speaker, sir, pleadings in respect of this impeachment were closed on 1st of December 2025. All parties were required to file their respective documents as at close of business on 1st of December 2025. There has been no attempt by the County Assembly to respond by way of affidavits, controverting the affidavits that are on record by the 4 MCAs. None. They had that opportunity, they did not do it. And therefore, in respect of that piece of evidence, it is uncontroverted. That is the position. That is a fact that has been admitted because they had the opportunity to file their own affidavits to respond to this issue. They have not. And therefore, we are squarely within the Secondly, and lastly, Learned Council has sought to seek refuge under Standing Order number 1 of the County Assembly of Kericho. Let me remind him what the Constitution states at Article 181, that Parliament shall enact legislation providing for the procedure of removal of a county governor on any of the grounds specified in Clause 1. Pursuant to that power, this House enacted, which, in case Learned Council has not read, states as follows: except as otherwise provided by this Constitution, this Act, the County Governments Act, or in any other legislation, any question proposed for decision by the County Assembly shall be determined by a majority of the members of the County Assembly present and voting. Can you be present in absentia? It's an oxymoron. When he runs and seeks refuge at Standing Order number 1, standing procedure, therefore the Speaker cannot run and innovate when there is a clear provision of the law. Thank you, my learned friend.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. For the record, my name is Zelma Bunuke, Counsel for the Governor. I'll address the issues that have been referred to by the other side of the County Assembly. I've heard them urge the issue of Kericho and how the proceedings of this House were concluded. It will be noted and on record that upon the proceedings being terminated, the Senate resolved to vote on the PO first before delving into the other grounds. What then does that mean, Honorable Senators? We do not have to waste time on an illegality at this phase. As my colleague said, the Honorable Senators have a lot to do, and we have highlighted a significant point or question of law on the threshold. Let me take you through what constitutes of the Nyamira County Assembly. It has got 20 elected members, 11 of which form the part of the gender top-up, 4 in the marginalized category. That is 35. Nothing changes. I will put contexture to that while referring to the Constitution of Kenya under Article 138 on the election of the President. Allow me, Honorable Senators, to refer to Article 138, 4A, which says, in a presidential election, a candidate shall be declared elected as a president if the candidate receives A, more than half of all the votes cast in the election, and at least 25% of the votes cast in each of more than half of the counties. Honorable Senators, we have 47 counties in Kenya. Half of that, my quick math tells me that is 24. Therefore, the express provision of this, of the Constitution, is that we cannot then say that if 38 counties voted, then they did not meet the threshold, because the law is clear that they have to be more than half of it. So what you're being told here is that we need to subtract the members who are not present and then lay the basis of having the 2/3. Allow me to refer to the Constitution once again on the process of the removal of a governor. It's very clear. It is not something that has been created out of anything else, but it's in the Constitution. The framers of the Constitution were very specific under Article 33(1), and I will read Article 33(2). Sorry, this is the County Government Act, Section 33(2). It is specific that a motion under subsection 1 is supported by at least 2/3 of the members of the County Assembly. This, honorable members, is a specific motion. It is not a bill or any other motion that can be brought to the House. It is particular to the removal of a governor. We do submit, honorable senators, that even if the County Assembly Speaker sought to create his own rules on how to conduct this voting exercise, then the standing order number 1, which they have sought to rely, is very specific, and they have read selectively standing order number 1.1. What they didn't tell you is that standing order number 1.2 provides as follows. The decision made in paragraph 1 shall be based on the Constitution of Kenya, statutes of law, and the usage of forms, precedent, custom, procedures, traditions of the County Assembly of Nyamira, the County Assembly, and the Republic of Kenya within this jurisdiction. They have failed to refer you to any statute that provides for proxy. You have also been told that this is a norm at the County Assembly of Nyamira to use proxy voting. Then we pose this question, Honorable Senators. Should we then countenance an illegality on the face of it, which has these serious ramifications, including impeaching an elected governor on a basis that does not exist in law? Honorable Senators, we urge you to consider our preliminary objection, and especially on this point on the threshold. If you are told that the issue of proxy have to be called as witnesses, that is fine. But then have we determined the first question on whether this motion met the threshold? The answer is a resounding no. We yield to that, Honorable Senators. Thank you.
Now, Honorable Senators, we have 6 minutes. Kindly shoot straight so that we can extract the most out of these 6 minutes. Senator for Nairobi City County.
Honorable Speaker, very interesting arguments have been made about membership, and I want to seek clarification from Council, especially Council for the Governor. On the question of membership, you have stated very well what Section 33(2) speaks about, that motion has to be supported by 2/3 of all the members of the Assembly. I want you to tie that to the provisions of Article 103(1)(a) on vacation of office. Upon the death of somebody, can that person be still referred to as a member of the Assembly for purposes of determination of membership? And therefore, Speaker, there is a very interesting point that was raised by Council for the Assembly. For instance, Speaker, if by catastrophe we have 35 members in the Assembly, 15 of them are in a bus, and the bus plunges into a river and they are no longer members of the Assembly. If an issue of impeachment were to arise in determining 2/3 of those members of the Assembly, is it the case for the Governor that we will still use the number that was determined at the election in August of 2022? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
There's Counsel for Governor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and thank you, Senator for Nairobi, for that question. My straight answer to that question is the impeachment process is governed by 3 pieces of legal provisions: Article 181, Section 33, and the standing orders. It does not anticipate a scenario whereby there will be a vacant that will have to last for so much, or rather for so long, such as to affect the business of the House. And let me just give this as an example. Assume that for a moment, half of the House is not present, either by tragedy or disaster. What happens to that House? Do we then reduce the threshold to the remaining 10 or 5? We cannot do that. So if there is a vacancy, it does not affect the threshold because the law has a mechanism of filling that vacancy. That would be my short answer to that issue. Thank you.
Senator Wambua.
Mr. Speaker, I have a similar question, but this time to the Counsel for the Assembly, Kadra Keegan. Mr. Speaker, I want the lawyer to address me and address this House on the question of the membership of any assembly. At what point does that membership determine Does it determine immediately after elections and after political parties have had an opportunity to discharge their obligation to nominate members? Or is it a moving target? Is it one number today, a different number tomorrow, a different number next week? At what point does this number determine? I thank you, Chair.
The Council for the County Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is the direct answer to the question from us is that it is a moving target. The reality of it is that at every given time, the representation has to continue. Various activities have to be done. There is need to approve budgets. There is need to determine issues. And therefore, the fact that there is a continuous need to attend to issues on behalf of the public makes it a moving target. And at every given time, the people who are available to transact the business on behalf of the people who elected them is the determining factor of the total bottom line number of people who are to vote. That's my answer to the question.
Senator Boni.
Mr. Speaker, I'm convinced by what the Council for the Governor Mutuma has said, that voting by proxy, you can't find it anywhere in the standing orders of the County Assembly or anywhere else. And yet, this is going to guide us to decide on your PO, Mr. Mutuma. Don't you think reading standing order in its entirety, we should give the County Assembly an opportunity to demonstrate to the House that the Speaker proceeded under standing order number 1 of the County Assembly, allowed by proxy, and maybe he did so because of some usage, some tradition that preceded that decision. Don't you think we should allow this to proceed so that we hear evidence to make a decision instead of just condemning them? No, you are wrong.
Council for Governor, you have a few seconds to respond.
Thank you, Senator Boni Halwale. An argument based on points of law or the interpretation of law cannot be a factual issue. It is based on legal arguments. They had that opportunity to submit, and that's why this Senate directed us to prepare written submissions and bring them before this House. That is why they've been given 20 minutes to demonstrate to you through legal arguments how the Speaker can rely on standing order number 1. There is no witness who is coming to testify on a question of law. It is purely an interpretation issue which does not require evidential interrogation. The purpose of going through a trial, honorable senators, is for you to look at the facts, to cross-examine the witnesses on their version of factual issues, and then render a decision of fact. Questions of law.
Council for Governor, time.
Thank you.
Up.
Thank
Now,
you. Thank you,
Honorable
Mr.
Senators, I will be giving my ruling at 2:30 on this particular matter. All right. Now, Honorable Senators, it is now 1:15 p.m., time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate, therefore, stands adjourned until later today, Wednesday, 3rd of December, 2025, at 2:30 p.m.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I get perfect notes from every meeting. I click this toggle to send my AI note taker to my meetings, even if I can't attend. My AI note taker records the entire meeting and creates a full transcript. After the meeting, I get a doc with the recording, takeaways, and even the action items. AI turns these action items into tasks so we actually get things done. ClickUp makes work easy, from personal projects to running a multi-billion-dollar company. Click the link below to create your workspace for free.
Ambao Wasomali wako hapa Marekani, hata nyi wa Kenya msiwe na wasiwasi. Sababu unajua nini? Hawarudi kule Kenya. Hawa watu ambao wanakujaga kama refugees kule wa Somali kule Minnesota, wakija hapa hata wakijifunzi Kiingereza. Kwa nini? Sababu hajui Kiingereza, hawezi tafuta kazi. Hawezi tafuta kazi inamaanisha nini? Serikali itamlipia nyumba, serikali imlipie chakula, yeye kazi yake ataka nyumbani, atazaa watoto 10, serikali itampa hela ya kulea watoto 10. Hela sasa ni video za Kiswahili zimerudi. Unaona huku kwetu venye kuna snow, hebu tizama snow. Sasa leo nimekuja kuongeza stories za Wasomali. Unajua tu kuna video ama post nimeitia kule kwa Facebook yangu ambayo nikizungumza nikisema kulikuwa na fraud kule Minnesota, and then as a result kuna watu wametiwa like wamefunguliwa mashtaka sababu walikuwa wanaiba pesa za autism. Alafu watu wananiuliza wanasema, "Ai, sasa watu si deportation inakuja deportation ya Somali." Nikasema sasa mwanzo acha nifanye hii video. Alafu mnajua mimi nikifanya video za Kiswahili inakuwa nataka nizungumze masuala ambayo watu wengine ambao hawaelewi. Hata kama kuna Waswahili ambao watakuwa wanaelewa hii video, wanajua ni udaku. So sitaki niseme na English. So sasa acha niongeze stories za Wasomali sasa. Nyinyi ambao mnawapenda usabasi, njoni hapa. So hawa Wasomali unafaa uelewe Wasomali ambao wako hapa Marekani si kama Wakenya ambao wako hapa Marekani. Unajua Wakenya wako hapa Marekani wengi wao wanakujanga kama wanafunzi, wanakuja kama kufanya kazi, wanakuja kufanya vitu yote ambavyo wanavifanya. Wengi wao wanakujanga vitu za hizo, lakini Wasomali ambao huja hapa wengi wao huja kama refugee. Tuchukulie mfano kama huyu mwanasiasa Omar, huyu ambaye ni representative kule Minnesota. Unadhani kwamba angekuwa hivyo tu anafungua hiyo mdomo wake hivyo anapiga kelele hivyo na Wamarekani akijua kwamba anaweza deportiwa? Unawaza angekuwa anafungua hiyo mdomo wake hivyo? Anajua kwamba Amerika ama Marekani ni nchi ambayo ina sheria, na nchi ambayo ina sheria kudeport mtu lazima ufuate nini? Lazima utaratibu wa sheria ufuatwe. Kama ni mtu anafanya nini? Kama ni kudeport mtu, si utatoka tu hapo nje useme anafula mimi sipendi jinsi anavyoongea, sipendi jinsi anavyofanya. Ni hata kama ni rais wa nchi hii, hauwezi kuwa na hiyo authority ya kudeport mtu kama haujafuata sheria. So as much as mambo ya Republicans na rais ambao kasongo hapa anamchukia Omar Ilhan, hawezi mregesha wapi? Hawezi mregesha Somalia. Sababu ya nini? Sababu ya sheria. Yeye ni nani? Ni raia wa Marekani. So kitu ambacho nataka kusema ni hiki. As much as hawa Somali wengi ambao wamepatikana na fraud kule Minnesota, as much as hata wakipatikana kwamba wana hatia kule mahakamani, watafungua jela. Wakishafungua jela wafanye nini? Waondolewe, warudishwe wapi? Warudishwe Minnesota. Hawatakuwa deported. Mtu anakuwa deported akiwa kama na green card. Ukiwa na green card alafu ufanye makosa, then unaweza kataza kupewa citizenship and then unarudishwa Afrika. Lakini mtu ambaye ni citizen hapa umtoe umbandue hapa umpeleke nchi yake, vigumu sana. Lazima kwa umefanya crime, na crime ni kama treason. Unaona kitu kama treason, hiyo mtu atanyang'anywa citizenship. Ama tuseme kama ulidanganya kitu chochote kabla upate citizenship, si baada ya. Kabla upate citizenship labda ulidanganya kitu fulani alafu ukapewa hiyo citizenship, na hiyo ukweli, kama hiyo kitu ambacho ulikidanganya ungesema ukweli, ingepelekea wewe usipewe hiyo citizenship. Inamaanisha ulipewa hiyo citizenship na hukuwa rightfully qualified ama eligible for, ndio unaweza nyang'anywa citizenship yako. Otherwise kubandua mtu hapa ambaye ni raia wa Marekani ngori. Ukiangalia kama kule Minnesota unapata kama hawa vijana ambao walizaliwa hapa wamesha kuwa na matabia za hapa Marekani, wanafanya nini? Wameingia kwa gangs, wengine wanaenda wanafanya uhalifu, wanapelekwa jela, wanaenda jela, wana serve term miaka 10, miaka ngapi, wanaondolewa, wanarudishwa Minnesota. So hii Minnesota wanasema kuna 80,000 watu ambao wako huko ambao ni wa Somali. Kuwabandua ni ngori. Ndio maana unaona wa Somali wako kule as much as wamepatwa na fraud kule Minnesota. Kelele ndio hiyo, Ilhan ndio huyo mdomo kashaambia Trump hiyo ndio fabric yao, hao ndio fabric ya America, hao ndio nini, hakuna mali mnampeleka. Sababu kisheria ashajua Trump hakuna kitu ambacho anaweza kifanya. Kitu ambacho watu wanajaribu kufuata sasa, Trump wanajaribu kufuata makatasi yake waone kama ilikuwa sawa. Kama makatasi yake ilikuwa sawa, alidanganya mali fulani, sehemu fulani, watamnyang'anya citizenship. Lakini tu juu yeye anapendi wa Somali ama apendi nini, useme wa Somali watarudishwa. Warudishwe wapi? Ni kama tuseme mimi nimesha apply citizenship yangu zamani huko 2016, right? Alafu aje sasa mimi nikosane tu na kasongo wa Marekani aseme mimi na fulani nayo simpendi, yeye ni aregeshwe kule Bungoma, aregeshwe kule Nairobi, aende Ishislando. Wapi? Hawezi. Lazima aende kotini. Hii kesi yangu iende kotini, judge asikize kesi, aseme kwa nini mnaweza kumnyang'anya hii citizenship, kama si treason, kama si kitu alichokifanya kabla ya kupata citizenship. Watanifunga tu jela, wakishanifunga jela, haya waniondoe waje tu waniweke tu kwa society yao, sasa iwe mimi ni mzigo wao. Alafu najua shida ni ile ukifunga mtu aende jela, akishatoka jela, sheria Marekani inakuwa mtu inakuwa vigumu sana ya kupata kazi. Sasa ni kama ukitoka jela washaku ninisha ingia kwa rekodi yako, social security number yako, kila fasi ambayo una apply kazi ama ni nyumba ama nini, unakuwa na ugumu wa kumaisha sababu huwezi pata kazi. Hata ma apartments hawataki kukupatia apartment, kurent apartment sababu una criminal history, right? So unakuwa mzigo kwa serikali sababu kama hupati kazi na vitu kama hizo, inabidi serikali nayo itoe hela zao za kufanya nini, za kukulinda. Ndio maana kama hawa watu ambao wanakujaga kama refugees kule wa Somali kule Minnesota, wakija hapa hata wakijifunzi Kiingereza. Kwa nini? Sababu hajui Kiingereza, hawezi tafuta kazi. Inamaanisha nini? Serikali itamlipia nyumba, serikali imlipie chakula, yeye kazi yake ataka nyumbani, atazaa watoto 10, serikali itampa hela ya kulea watoto 10. Sasa kama mtu ametoka kule Isili, alikuwa anafanya biashara, mwanabiashara, anapambana, alafu anakuja hapa amepewa refugee, akishaingia hapa siku ya kwanza ashaambiwa wewe Msomali, nyumba hii, vyakula vyako hivi, haya hii ni nauli ya kwenda mahali fulani urudi ndo hii, haya watoto wako ndo hiyo, healthcare yao ndo hiyo bure. Sasa kama ushampa mtu kila kitu bure, yeye kule ambako amekutoka ashazoea kupambana, wewe ashakuja hapa ushaanza kumpa vitu bure. Wewe utaka kuniambia hata kama ni wewe, hata kama mimi nafula mika ningekuja hii nchi uniambie mimi kila kitu ni bure? Si mtu atakasa kufanya kazi. Ndio maana wana blame wa Somali kwamba wa Somali wa Minnesota wataki kufanya kazi, wana rely kwa serikali. Lakini unafaa ugundue hao ni monster ambaye serikali ya Marekani tayari yenyewe ili create. Hao wenyewe walishazoesha maisha kuwapa kila kitu. Alafu mgeuke mseme sasa toki kuwapatia nyoe mwende mfanye kazi. Mtu atafanya kazi aje amekaa hapa miaka 20 hata Kiingereza yenyewe ajui kusema hai. Kazi yenyewe ataipata vipi? Itabidi nanyi mumfunze Kizungu kwanza. Akishajua Kizungu mwambie tafuta kazi. Which means wanaona hiyo ni kazi ngumu, situfanye nini, tuendelee tu kuwasaidia. So Somali ambao wa Somali wako hapa Marekani, hata nyi wa Kenya msiwe na wasiwasi. Sababu unajua nini? Hawarudi kule Kenya. Hata wakipatikana na hiyo fraud yao wataenda jela, wasavu kifungo chao. Wakishafunguliwa wanarudi kule Minnesota, wakaetua zuzu yao walami wako kule. Wazungu hawawezi wabandua wa Somali hapa Marekani unless, alafu unafaa ujue wa Somali ambao walikuja hapa kitambo ni kama mke na mume, walikuja hapa like in the 90s, right? Wakija hapa hao tu ndio walikuja kama refugee. Alafu unapata wakija hapa wamezaa, wa Somali wanajua kuzaa, so wamezaa kama watoto 10 na kitu, maybe watoto 10. Hata serikali iseme ina deport watu, ita deport huyo mama na baba. Watoto ambao walizaliwa hapa raia wa Marekani by birth hawezi wa deport Somalia ama Kenya sababu hao si wa raia nchi nyingine. Raia wapi? Sasa hata kama unaenda kupata hizi cases, wanasema 60% of the cases ziko fraud. Kwa familia ya watu 13 utaweza deport only 2 ama 3 people, the rest wameshazaliwa hapa. Sasa hii ni kesi ambao mnaisikia tu huku, ni sababu watu ambao hawajui sheria za immigration na nini ndio wanachangamkia hii, wanasema wa Somali watarudishwa, wa Somali mtotoka Minnesota. Wa Somali watoke Minnesota waende wapi? Wa Marekani washazoesha vitu vya bure, wa Marekani wenyewe wajinga. Sasa naambie wa Somali, mtu ambaye ajenda shule, hajui Kizungu, atakujaje nchi yako fraud vitu, achukue hela za autism mpaka zifike 1.7 billion wanatuma Afrika. Marekani walikuwa wapi? Hao wasomi hao. Hawakuwa na makompyuta za kuangalia kwani hizi hela nazo zinaenda wapi. Wao nyinyi wajinga waibie pesa alafu mgeuke mseme haya hao walikuwa natuibia pesa kivipi? Sababu hawakuja ati waje tu hapo waseme ati si ni kama benki mtu ameingia hapo alafu ana bastola anasema toa hizo hela nipe hizo hela nini. Unampa sababu unaogopa. Hapana. Hao wali apply autism wakakuwa approved na kama na uongo wao wakaanza kuwapewa check. Hiyo check nyinyi wenyewe wa Marekani wanaandika hiyo check wakimpa Msomali. Sasa mtakujaje mseme Wasomali wanatuibia unaibia mtu ambaye ulikuwa na basola ukamwibia hela mao mwenyewe ukachukua mfukoni ukampa. So ndio nawaambia Wasomali msione wana mdomo kule Minnesota, washajua hakuna kitu serikali ya Marekani itawafanya. Na hata hiyo TPS wanasema TPS wana cancel, wakicancel TPS Wasomali wanarudi. Unajua Wasomali wangapi wako TPS? Wasomali 500 peke yake. Kama out of hiyo 100,000 almost ya Wasomali ambao wanaishi Minnesota, only 500 ndio wako kwa TPS. Sasa ukidipoti watu 500 out of 100,000, denti gani unaicreate hapo? Hakuna. Sababu ya nini? Ni ngumu. Alafu unajua wanasema maybe Omar alioa ndugu yake akapata citizenship. Hakuna. Kuna sheria hapa Marekani inasema uwezi oa ndugu wako ama uwezi oa kazini yako. Wasomali wanawananga wenyewe kwa wenyewe, hata kule Kenya mnawajua. So hiyo ni culture yao, washazoea kuona wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Utakuja useme kwa nini ulioa huyu? Si mpenzi wake, ana watoto nao, hata wakitoka na autism watoto wake, chaguo lake. Utakuja umwambie na fula uwezi wa ndugu yako. Na hiyo ndo culture yetu ya kuwa ndugu yake. Sasa hata yeye hiyo citizenship hata kama ndugu yake mwenyewe alimpa, hawaezi mnyang'anya. Sababu ya nini? Hakuna sheria ambayo inasema lazima uoe mtu fulani. Hakuna. Hata hapa na wanaume kwa wanaume wanaoana. Afrika mnakubali wanaume kwa wanaume waoane? Hapana. Si inafanyika hapa Marekani? Ndio. So utasemaje mwanaume kwa mwanaume ama mwanamke kwa mwanamke ni halali, lakini mtu kwa ndugu yake ugeugo useme hiyo si halali? Hii country ni nchi ya sheria na laws. Ndio nawaambia hata kuwe usiku, mchana, kubanduke hapa Wasomali Minnesota, wataenda kupiga kelele, maraisi watakuja, huyu Kasongo ataenda, mwingine akuje waje wapige kelele Minnesota, lakini unajua nini? Wasomali Minnesota kubanduka kule ngori. So hiyo tu ndio nimetaka kuclarify. Subscribe kwa hii channel kama unapenda hizi story, lakini mjue comment zenu za kizungu mimi sizitaki, sababu mtaanza kusema hapa comment za kizungu walami waangukie hii video yangu waseme mimi nimesema Wasomali wasiende. Hiyo ndo nawaambia. So walami ambao hapa ambao wanachangamkia hii idea ya Wasomali kwenda ni walami ambao hawajui immigration law. Lakini mtu yote ambaye anajua immigration law atakwambia kubandua Wasomali Minnesota ni ngori. TPS 500 watarudishwa labda. Hawa na green card juzi wengi wao wanakuja kama refugee miaka ambayo iliyopita. So miaka 5 ukija hapa kama refugee, mwaka mmoja una apply green card. After miaka 5 unakuwa citizen. So Wasomali wengi ambao wako Minnesota ni already citizens. Hakuna pasi ambao unawapeleka. So nyie msiwe na wasiwasi Kenya ati Wasomali wanarudi. Watafungwa jela, watolewe. Labda hiyo funding ya autism wakate. Alafu wafanye nini? Wasikuwa wanatuma hela nyumbani. Lakini ati Msomali kubanduliwa huku. Hizo stories za jaba. Haya, subscribe. See you in my next video. Bye.
Cheki Oti ni mswas mocha.
Mzito!
Line ya Oti haifanyi kazi. Hajajaza airtime kwa muda mrefu. Kwa hivyo hawezi piga simu, tuma SMS, tumia data au M-Pesa.
Mimi sitaki kwenda tao.
Lakini cheki Agi.
Mimi tao kupanga laini.
Agi yako ready na majibu.
Mbona OTZ? Piga *100*2#. Kisha chagua reactivate your old line. Reactivate your line without stress so that you can talk to your loved one.
Chukua control bila stress. Usipoteze muda. Just dial *100*2#. Chagua reactivate your old line and boom, uko back kwa calls, SMS, data na M-Pesa. Ukimaliza kuactivate, jaza credit ya kiwango chochote. Halafu upige simu, utume SMS, utumie M-Pesa au data ili ukeep line yako active.
East Africa has